Hello, I'm Susan Bean. I'm here to teach Photoshop. And we began with the previous video, looking through the tools, the Photoshop tools over on the left, and organizing and simplifying them. And after I finished that video, I realized I had left out a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. So tonight I will be continuing over to the other side of the workspace and doing the same streamlining and organizing that side. But before we head over there, I wanted to kind of do a little tiny bit of review of what we did in order to show what I forgot. So here's Photoshop, and I'm using Photoshop 2024. I use the beta version sometimes, which is newer, but it's a little iffy. So I thought I would use the one that's currently available. All right, so we looked at the tools and we edited them so that not so many showed on the desktop. And we also looked at the fact that there was a shortcut for each tool. So for example, if I type the letter L, I can go to the lasso tool, and then I can toggle through, just keep typing L and see any other tools that are there. So if I go to J, J has a lot of different tools in there. Woo, five different tools, all with the shortcut J. So if I just type J, I can toggle through the different tools in that square. All right, here's what I forgot. We got there by going to the Edit menu and all the way down to the toolbar. And we dragged tools we didn't want to see from the left column to the right column, and that's how we clean things up. The couple of things that are new, which I didn't even know about till I changed to this new version, are these little things down at the bottom where it says show. And you have a choice of seeing a couple of things that usually you just had to see. So if you think you're going to want to see the hidden tools that you've put in this kind of hidden drawer, you can have them add 3 little dots to your toolbar. And those dots, if you click and hold down on those dots on your toolbar, they'll show you all the hidden tools. I found that really annoying, because then whatever tool that's hidden you end up looking at, it just stays there and won't go away. So there's that checked. You can see now it appears as 3 little dots up in the toolbar, but I'm gonna click again. I'm gonna turn that off. If I want to see them, I can come to this window anytime. I don't want them on the toolbar. All right. The other thing that's very important, and I never knew we had a choice about it until now, is the default, what are called the default colors, foreground and background colors. Those are at the bottom of the tool panel, and they just look like what they are. There's a little black swatch and a little white swatch, and there's a tiny little miniature of them and a little 2-headed arrow. So we'll look at what that does in a minute. Yes, you should keep those on the toolbar. You won't be painting with black and white necessarily, but they will use to do that kind of erasing that I alluded to last night, that's non-destructive erasing. So they're very important. Another thing that I would suggest you keep is this thing called quick mask mode. And we'll talk about that when we talk about selecting things and cutting things out. Very important. And last and kind of least is show screen mode. When that is on, I'll show you what it does. there it is at the very bottom. I'm going to turn it off. It has a shortcut, and I'll just show you using the shortcut. And if you want to put it there, you can come here and tell it to appear there, or you can turn it off. All right, so that was the thing I forgot. And I'm going to hit done. And that screen mode thing that I just turned off. No, I forgot what I forgot. Sorry. One more thing, toolbar. There's this, and it's grayed out now. Disable shortcuts for hidden toolbar extras. That means as you're toggling through these tools, and you've hidden some, when you type L for lasso, it means it's not going to show you the hidden lasso. I clicked that to disable them, but now it's grayed out. I'm not sure why, but if you have a choice, I would suggest disabling shortcuts for hidden toolbar extras. All right, the other thing that I discovered that's new as far as I can tell is that you can actually drag these tools up and down to change the order that they appear. And so, for example, this was just sitting by itself, but I wanted to group it with these tools. So I pulled it up, and when you're moving things around, a little blue line comes out, which says basically if you let go, it'll drop whatever you're dragging right here. So I'm going to drop that there. So you can actually change the order of these tools. I might do that. I'm going to leave them where they are for now, because I don't want my desktop to look too different from your desktop. But eventually I might rethink this and put the ones I use all the time way up at the top, and the ones that I rarely use kind of down towards the bottom. That might be a nice way to rearrange that. All right, I'm going to click done. Again, we got this whole dialog box under the edit menu, and then at the very bottom of the edit menu. Okay, so there are the tools, and here are the settings for the tools, and each tool has different settings. And I wanted to mention something pretty important and introduce another shortcut. It's a really good shortcut. You'll use it a lot. And let's see. I'm going to show it to you by using the paintbrush. All right, shortcut to get to the brush. Do you remember it from the previous video? You just type the letter B for brush. And the brush tool is now the active tool. And I can paint with a paintbrush. No surprise there. But I wanted to show you a couple of things. One is, when you want to paint with a color, you can pick that color by clicking on one of the default swatches. The shortcut for going to the swatch I'm going to click on this. And here we go. I have something called the color picker. And the way you use it is you click on the part of this vertical bar to get more or less where you want to be. I want orange, so lately I'm just loving orange. So I'm gonna click on orange, and then you move your cursor into this bigger area, and then you can pick the exact amount of color and darkness and lightness. You can zero in. You can also, once this window is open, you can also move your cursor onto an open document, an open picture, and you can sample from an existing color. This is a black and white photo, but now my cursor is turned into a little eyedropper. And if I wanted to match this color, for example, I would click on it, and immediately it goes and matches that color. So I can click around And it's showing me my previous color and the new color, so I can compare them, because sometimes you want a color that's really similar to what you had, but just a little different. So it really helps to have the two abutting each other right there. All right, I'm going to go back to orange and pick a bright orange. I thought I was going to pick a bright orange there. And now you can see in what's called the foreground swatch, it's in front of and above the other swatch. It doesn't have anything to do with foreground or background, really. It's just color 1 and color 2. But there it is. And now here's my brush. I'm going to look up here. Such a good idea when you're on a tool to look up at the settings before you just start wailing away. All right. And something says normal. We'll talk about what that means. It's very significant. And opacity. Well, we probably know what opacity means. It's whether the color is transparent or opaque or any point in between. I can change the opacity right here, but I want to urge you not to do that because it's really awkward and slow. And you can go like this, and then you get a slider, that's 2 steps, and then you do this, and you still can't see your color and can't see what you're doing, you're just guessing. Or that's one way, it's the most awkward way, never do it. The other way you can do it that's a little more elegant is to move your cursor over the word opacity, and you can see the cursor changes to a pointing finger and arrows, and it's telling you to hold down and then drag left or right, and you can see it's changing the opacity. So that's a second way you can do that. But put it back to 100. Here's the way you really do it. When you have a tool like the brush that has an opacity, I'm going to paint with it. I'll show you what I'm doing in a minute. You just go to the tool like we are, and right now it's at 100, so I'm going to paint something. Here's a line. If I want it to be 50, I just type the number 5 and watch what happens up here in the opacity setting. It's 50% because I typed the number 5, and when I paint, it's 50%. And if I type the number 2, that's 20%. If I type the number 0, it's back to 100%. So if you are using a tool that has an opacity setting, like the brush tool or the stamp tool or the gradient tool or the type tool, no, you can't do this with the type tool. All you have to do is type a number for the opacity. If I type 6, now the opacity is 60. If I want it to be 65, I just type 65 pretty fast, and now it's 65. So that's how you change the opacity of a tool. I want to undo this. Years ago, when Photoshop was young and when computers were young and did not have a lot of memory, Photoshop only had one undo, and then too bad, you were out of luck. It was very tragic. And those of us who used Photoshop had our biggest wish was multiple undos. Other programs had it, but they weren't as complex and memory needy as Photoshop, and it just wasn't possible. And years went by, and every time the rumors started about a new Photoshop coming out, that was the top of everyone's wish list, multiple undos. And finally, computers evolved, memory got cheaper, and finally, one year, the rumors began, multiple undos, they're having multiple undos. And we just wanted to be able to go undo, 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 and get rid of all these orange lines and get back to where we started. But what Adobe came out with was so much beyond what we had hoped for. It was mind-blowing. So here's how you undo things in Photoshop. You can, in fact, do the shortcut, the universal computer shortcut, Command Z on a Mac, Control Z on a PC, and it will undo. And it will undo many times now. But here's something that we use in Photoshop to undo. It's called a history panel, and it records everything you do, and it makes a list, and the most recent thing you've done is on the bottom, and here's before that, and here's before that, and here's before that, and here's what it looked like when we opened it. And so you can hop around in time, you can time travel. If I stop at a certain time and then I start working again, the times below will disappear and go away forever. If I close this document, the history panel will clean itself and erase itself and will not be there after I close the document. It is not saved with the document. It's just for while you're working. But it's pretty wonderful. There's some other fancier things you can do with it. You can take snapshots of where you are and go back to them. You can paint certain things back in time, but not others, which is a little too fancy for what we're doing right now, but we'll get there. So I'm going to put this away, but this was a good time to mention the history panel. We'll get to these panels very soon. All right, so I can, in fact, undo many times with that same shortcut, Command Z or Control Z on a PC. But that's why, because now we have a history panel. All right, so we have these colors, and now I want to go back to the default colors. The default colors are black and white because technically you use those for erasing purposes. The shortcut to get to the default colors, to restore the default colors, is D for default. I typed it, and there are my default colors. The other way to get there is to click in the little miniature default colors, and it restores them. And if I wanted to switch them, which when we start erasing things and stuff, you'll see that we switch all the time. When I want to switch them, I can either click on this little double-headed arrow to switch the black and white colors, or I can just type the letter X and it switches them. X, X, X. So I think we're done with the tools right now. And remember that when you change the opacity of the tool, you just type a number and it changes the opacity of the tool. All right. Let's take a look at the right side of the workspace, and I'm going to go to Window, Workspace, and I'm going to, I hate to do this, but I'm trying to teach you, so I have to sacrifice myself. I'm going to put it on the default workspace. Let's see, a new tool it has to add. Now that we've cleaned it off, it's adding new tools. All right, Window, Workspace. So the default when you open Photoshop out of the box is they're going to arrange things. And now that you've done that, reset essentials. I'm going to reset it. This is how, over on the right, this is the 12 different panels of information that they think is a good default. I beg to differ. So I usually use only 4 panels. There's a whole list of all the possible panels that you can use. It's under the window menu, and I used to joke that when I owned Adobe, this would be called panels, but it's been 30 years and I still don't own Adobe, so it's called window. All right, this is a list of panels, and the ones with the check boxes are the ones that are currently showing. The other ones are put away, just like the tools that we put away in a drawer because you don't use them all the time. However, this is way too much information that we don't need and don't use. So we're going to clean this up a little. Here's how you do it. Come over here, and we need to be on the move tool. Do you remember the shortcut for the move tool? Move V. Type V. There's the move tool. My cursor is way over on the right now. And I'm going to start by looking at I'm going to look at color. It says color. I'm going to click on the word color and hold down, and I'm going to actually pull this panel out. And when I do, there's a little, it'll be different on a PC, it'll be on the other side, but on a Mac, it's on the left. I'm going to put that away. Of course we use color, but we don't need that panel out. I'm going to do the same thing with swatches and put that panel away. They're disappearing, but they're going to the window menu. You can be found there again. So we're not permanently getting rid of them. Patterns. Oh my. Goodbye. Gradients. Goodbye. Libraries. Goodbye sometimes, but not right now. What's this? I'm pulling this out. This I can't see what this is because there are 2 little arrows here and I can expand. This is comments. Oh, no. We don't want comments. Adjustments, channels, pull that out. Channels are great. Once in a blue moon. Goodbye. Paths. Those are vector. We talked about that last night. No. All right. I want layers. I do want that. And I want I don't want adjustments. I want properties. And I'm going to do something now. I want both of these, but I want them in a certain arrangement. So I'm going to start clicking and holding down at the top of the bar on this panel. And I'm going to, as soon as you see the arrowhead of my cursor touch the bottom of that other panel, can you see there's a blue line there? As soon as it shows the blue line, when you let go, it magnetically docks these together. So, okay, I like that. And I'm going to put my cursor at the bottom of the layers, and just for a split second, it turns into a double-headed arrow, and I can pull this down. I need some room here in the layers because I usually have a lot of layers. All right, so we have layers and properties, and they're docked together. I pulled the properties up until I saw the blue line. Oops. And now they're docked together. There was one more here. It's all closed up. I click on the tiny little double arrows that expands this, and I can pull down on the edge. This is history. We just looked at this. I love having the history out because it's a way to use multiple undos, but I don't want it to take up all this room. So I'm going to drag it. And again, when my cursor hits an edge, that edge turns blue, I let go, and now magnetically it's attached at that edge. Now I'm going to put my cursor on that edge. You can see just it's kind of touchy, but it's very touchy. Let's see, come on. Well, click. All right, I use those tiny little arrows at the top and I can pull it out just so I can see the word history. Because you may be new at this, you may not recognize this as history. But if you click on it, it pops out. You can do what you want to do, and then you can put it back by clicking. So click, do something, and then here are these arrows, click. If you get to know that this is history and you don't need it to take up so much room, you can put it back and just see the icon and click on the icon, it pops out, click on the arrow, it puts it away. I like that, it's very tidy, and I've been doing this a long time, so I know what that one is. I know that's history and I don't need a reminder, I don't need the word there. All right, there's one more that I want to use, and that's, I don't see it out, I'm gonna go to Window, and it's called Actions. And here it is. And I'm going to group it with history. So grabbing it by the name Actions, dragging it up here. And can you see the box kind of lighting up? If I drop it, then they're tabbed. I can go from one to the other. And when I want to close them up again, little double arrows, there they are. They're ready for me to use just by clicking on them. Clicking again, click, click, just bring them out, put them away, and they don't take up a lot of room. Now, I don't want this floating around in front of my picture. So now I'm going to dock it to the edge, the right edge of my workspace. And I'm going to do that by dragging it over, and it won't do anything. You see it's not doing anything? It won't do anything till the arrowhead, the tip of the arrowhead hits the edge, then you drop, and now it's kind of plastered to that edge. It's not floating around, and I have everything I need, and I'm only using 4 panels out of the 12 that we're showing in the essentials. This is a really efficient and small way to work. It's a great way to work. I want to save this workspace because some of you share the workspace with other people and they come in and mess everything up, or maybe you mess everything up. So let's save it so we can get back to this arrangement anytime we want. Window, workspace. And you can see I already have one that I've named Bean, but the way I did that was I arranged everything just the way I liked it. And then I came in here and went new workspace. And you can name that with your name, or whatever you want to call it, or favorites, or minimal workspace. You can have several workspaces. Maybe unlike me, you're not a photographer. Maybe you're a painter and you use really different things than I've shown you, but maybe you sometimes want to do the photography part of it and find this useful. You can make a painting workspace with just the panels and the tools that you use for painting. You can make a retouching workspace. It's up to you. You can have many workspaces. So I want to save the toolbar because we went to all that trouble to organize it. So I want that to be part of this workspace. You can also customize menus. We didn't do that. That leads to some trouble sometimes because you can't find things. And keyboard shortcuts, I'll show you at some point. I've made many of my own. I'm already using them. I'll just leave that alone right now. So we can call this Bean Fave, save. And anytime we want, you can go to Window, workspace. Let's look at some of the other ones. These come packaged with Photoshop. So there's the painting one. Oh, look, really different. They have a lot of brushes and fancy color swatches and and lot more tools that, ugh. Um, but I can go back to my little serene minimal workspace anytime. Workspace, being fave, and now it resets it. I want this for my house. I want it to just, I guess that's in Harry Potter where they wave a wand and everything tidies up. So that's what we have here. Um, Window workspace. You can take a look at some of these workspace. Maybe you'll like some of them. Maybe some will be more pertinent to what you do with Photoshop. There's a 3D workspace, a photography. Let's see the photography workspace. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no. Oh no. Okay. Uh, Not my brand of photography, but hey, there it is. If you want to use it, there it is. All right, I'm going back to being fave. So that's how you arrange the workspace. And let's see if there's anything else I wanted to talk to you about. Um, the next thing that we'll be learning and talking about is layers. And layers are the gateway to all control in Photoshop. And that's where Photoshop leaves Lightroom, things like Lightroom and in the dark, because Lightroom doesn't do layers and you can only go so far without them. Anyway, that's our next subject. I hope this was helpful and feel free to leave comments, and I'll see you in the next video.